Hi everyone, welcome to Lump Clinics featuring acupuncture for the common cold. And today we will discuss the etiology and pathology, the 6 stages, and the 4 levels. This is presented by Lamp Acu Wellness Foundation, Inc. An invasion of an exterior pathogenic factor is due to a temporary and relative imbalance between it and the body's qi. This imbalance may occur either because the body's qi is temporarily and relatively weak, or because the pathogenic factor is very strong. Temporarily and relatively because the body's qi is not weak in absolute terms, but only in relation to an external pathogenic factor at a particular time. The body's qi may be temporarily and relatively weak due to overwork, excessive sexual activity, irregular diet, and emotional stress, or a combination of these. When the body is thus weakened, even a mild pathogenic factor may cause an external invasion of wind. A particularly strong pathogenic factor may cause an exterior invasion of wind, no matter how strong the body's qi is. Someone who falls through the ice while crossing a frozen lake in Finland in the middle of winter will suffer an invasion of wind, no matter how strong the body condition is. This figure shows external invasion by a particularly strong pathogenic factor. Wind indicates both an etiological factor and a pathological condition. As an etiological factor, it literally refers to climatic influences and especially sudden changes of weather to which the body cannot adapt. As a pathological condition, wind refers to a complex of symptoms and signs manifesting as wind cold or wind heat. In clinical practice, this is the most important aspect of the concept of wind. Thus, the diagnosis of wind invasion is made not on the basis of the history. No need to ask the patient whether he or she has been exposed to wind, but on the basis of the symptoms and signs. If a person has all the symptoms and signs of wind, aversion to cold, shivering, fever, sneezing, runny nose, headache, floating pulse, then the condition is one of exterior wind, no matter what climate that person has been exposed to in the previous days or hours. There are also chronic conditions that manifest with symptoms of wind and are treated as such even though they have no relation to climatic factors. For example, allergic rhinitis due to house dust mites or pollen manifests with symptoms and signs of wind and is treated as such. Common cold and influenza may manifest primarily with symptoms of wind cold or wind heat. These are the two major types of wind, and most other types may be treated by modifying basic formulae for wind cold or wind heat. The symptomatology of wind cold was discussed by Chang Chong Ching in the discussion of cold-induced diseases, Sang Han Lun, where he first elaborated the theory of the 6 stages. These are as follows. Greater Yang, we have wind cold with prevalence of cold, wind cold with prevalence of wind. Bright Yang, under this we have the channel pattern, which is stomach heat, and the organ pattern, stomach fire. Lesser Yang, greater Yin, lesser Yin, terminal Yin. The first stage, greater Yang, is the only exterior one. At this stage, wind cold is on the exterior and only the lungs' defensive qi portion is affected, not the interior. The lungs' diffusing and descending of qi is impaired and the external wind is lodged in the space between skin and muscles, impairing the circulation of defensive qi. The essential symptoms of the greater yang stage are aversion to cold and shivering, occipital headache and or stiff neck, floating pulse. Aversion to cold indicates the typical subjective cold feeling and shivering that comes on as a wave in the beginning stages of a cold or influenza. It is characteristic insofar as it is not relieved by covering oneself. Most people who experience a bad cold or flu shiver even in bed under the blankets. Fever is due to the fight between the external wind and the upright qi. Please note that fever does not necessarily indicate a raised temperature, but it refers to the objective hot feeling of the patient on touch by the doctor, especially forehead and dorsum of hands. The occipital headache or stiffness is due to the obstruction of defensive qi circulation in the greater yang channels, small intestine and bladder, which flow in that area. The floating pulse reflects the rushing of defensive qi towards the exterior to fight the pathogenic factor. Besides these four cardinal symptoms, there are many others such as a runny nose, sneezing, a cough, body aches, itchy throat. All these are due to the impairment of the diffusing and descending of qi by the lungs and by the obstruction to the circulation of defensive qi in the muscles. Greater yang stage channel patterns are invasion of wind cold with prevalence of cold, attack of cold, invasion of wind cold with prevalence of wind, attack of wind. Invasion of wind cold with prevalence of cold, attack of cold. Aversion to cold, slight fever, no sweating, headache, stiff neck, sneezing, runny nose with white discharge, breathlessness, pulse floating tight, the points, bladder 12 with cupping, lung 7, Li 4. Moxa is applicable. Invasion of wind cold with prevalence of wind, attack of wind, slight aversion to cold, aversion to wind, slight fever, slight sweating, headache, stiff neck, sneezing. Pulse, floating slow. Points, bladder 12 with cupping, lung 7, Li 4, gallbladder 20, stomach 36. Greater yang stage organ patterns. We have accumulation of water and accumulation of blood. Accumulation of water is characterized by shivers, fever, aversion to cold, retention of urine, slight thirst, vomiting of fluids soon after drinking. Pulse, floating rapid. Points, Ren 9, Ren 3, lung 7, bladder 22, bladder 39. Accumulation of blood, hypogastric distension, fullness and urgency, urinary incontinence, blood in urine, mental restlessness. Tongue is reddish purple without coating. Pulse, deep, fine, rapid. Points, bladder 62 and SI3 in combination. Bladder 39, SI5, bladder 22, spleen 10, liver 1. The bright yang stage, we have the bright yang channel pattern, bright yang organ pattern. Bright yang channel pattern. High fever, profuse sweating, intense thirst, red face, feeling of heat, irritability, delirium. Tongue is red with yellow coating. Pulse, overflowing, rapid. Points, Li 11, Do 14, pericardium 3, stomach 44, stomach 43. Bright yang organ pattern. High fever that is worse in the afternoon, profuse sweating, sweating on the limbs, abdominal fullness and pain, constipation, dry stools, thirst, dark urine. Tongue is red with thick, dry yellow coating. Pulse, deep, full, slippery, rapid. Points, LI11, DO 14, PC3, stomach 44, stomach 43, stomach 25, spleen 15, stomach 37, spleen 6. Lesser Yang stage. Alternations of shivers and fever, bitter taste, dry throat, blurred vision, hypochondrial fullness and distension, no desire to eat or drink, irritability, nausea, vomiting. Tongue, unilateral, thin white coating. Pulse, wiry, fine. Points, triple burner 5, triple burner 6, gallbladder 41, DO 13. For the greater yin stage, abdominal fullness, feeling cold, vomiting, no appetite, diarrhea, no thirst, tiredness. Tongue is pale with sticky white coating. Pulse, deep, weak, slow. Points, Ren 12, bladder 20, stomach 36, spleen 9. Moxa is applicable. Lesser yin stage. We have cold transformation and heat transformation. Cold transformation. Chills, feeling cold, lying with body curled, listlessness, desire to sleep, cold limbs, diarrhea, no thirst, frequent pale urination. Tongue is pale and wet with white coating. Pulse, deep, weak, slow. Points, bladder 23, Ren 4, Ren 6, Ren 8, kidney 7, kidney 3. Moxa is applicable. Heat transformation. Feeling of heat, irritability, insomnia, dry mouth and throat at night, dark urine, night sweating. Tongue is red without coating, pulse, fine, rapid. Points, Ren 4, Ren 6, kidney 3, kidney 6, spleen 6. And finally, we have the terminal yin stage. Persistent thirst, feeling of energy rising to the chest, pain and heat sensation in heart region, hungry but no desire to eat, cold limbs, diarrhea, vomiting, vomiting of roundworms. Pulse, wiry. Points, liver 3, Li 4, spleen 4, PC 6. Now we go to the 4 levels. The symptomatology of wind heat was elaborated in detail by the School of Warm Diseases. In particular, Ye Tianxi formulated the theory of the 4 levels to describe the symptomatology of invasions of wind heat. The 4 levels are as follows. Under the defensive Qi level, we have wind heat, damp heat, summer heat, and wind dry heat. For Qi level, lung heat, stomach and intestines dry heat, gallbladder heat, stomach and spleen damp heat. Nutritive Qi level, we have heat in pericardium, heat in nutritive Qi. And finally, for the blood level, heat victorious agitates blood, heat victorious stirs wind, empty wind agitates in the interior, collapse of yin, collapse of yang. The first level concerns the exterior stage of an invasion of wind heat. The other 3 levels describe pathological conditions that arise when the pathogenic factor penetrates the interior and turns into heat. The 4 levels represent different levels of energetic depth, the first being the exterior and the other 3 being the interior. The interesting part of this theory is the distinction within the interior of 3 different levels, the Qi level being the most superficial within the interior and the blood level the deepest. The defensive qi level of the four levels broadly corresponds to the greater yang stage of the 6 stages. The former deals with wind heat and the latter with wind cold. Although the clinical manifestations are different, they share common features as they are both characterized by an invasion of an exterior pathogenic factor, the impairment of the lungs diffusing and descending of qi, and the obstruction of defensive qi in the space between the skin and muscles. The main symptoms of invasion of wind heat are aversion to cold, shivering, fever, sore throat, swollen tonsils, headache and body aches, sneezing, cough, runny nose with yellow discharge, slightly dark urine, slightly red sides of the tongue, and a floating rapid pulse. In wind heat too, there is aversion to cold, as this is due to wind heat obstructing the defensive qi, which therefore fails to warm the muscles. This table will show us the comparison of wind cold and wind heat. For pathology, in wind cold we have wind cold obstructing the defensive qi, and in wind heat we have wind heat injuring the defensive qi and impairing the descending of lung qi. Penetration of pathogenic factor in wind cold is via the skin. Penetration of pathogenic factor wind heat is via the nose and mouth. Fever in wind cold is light, while fever in wind heat is high. Aversion to cold in wind cold is pronounced, while aversion to cold in wind heat is slight. Body aches is severe in wind cold and slight in wind heat. No thirst in wind cold, slight thirst in wind heat. Urine is pale in wind cold, slightly dark urine in wind heat. Occipital headache in wind cold, while whole head in wind heat. Sweating, no sweating or slight sweating on the head in wind cold, slight sweating in wind heat. No change in the tongue for wind cold, slightly red on the sides and or front in wind heat. The pulse is floating tight in wind cold, while floating rapid in wind heat. Treatment: for wind cold, we use pungent warm herbs to cause sweating, and in wind heat, pungent cool herbs to release the exterior. Thus, common cold and influenza will always start with manifestations similar to the greater yang stage of the 6 stages or the defensive qi level of the 4 levels, depending on whether the pathogenic factor is wind cold or wind heat. If the pathogenic factor is not expelled at the beginning stages, it will change into heat and penetrate into the interior. Once the pathogenic factor penetrates into the interior, the body's qi carries on its fight against it in the interior. This causes a high fever and a feeling of heat, in marked contrast to the aversion to cold and the shivering that occur when the body's qi fights the pathogenic factor on the exterior. At the exterior level, the internal organs are not affected, and it is only the lungs' defensive qi portion that is involved. When the pathogenic factor becomes interior, the organs are affected, and especially the lungs and or stomach. This stage of development in the pathology of these diseases is crucial, as if the pathogenic factor is not cleared, it may either penetrate more deeply and cause serious problems at the nutritive qi or blood level, or give rise to residual heat that is often the cause of chronic post-viral fatigue syndromes. Defensive qi level: exterior, hot and full. Internal organs are not affected, and the body's qi condition is relatively strong, and the location, body's qi fights on the exterior. For the chi level, interior, hot, full, internal organs are affected. Body's chi condition is relatively strong, and the body's chi fights in the interior. In the interior, the main patterns appearing will be either the bright yang pattern of the 6 stages, or more commonly, one of the chi level patterns within the 4 levels. In general, at the chi level, either the stomach or lung, or both are affected. Hu Tong clearly explained why this should be. Exterior wind heat penetrates via the mouth and nose. The mouth opens into the stomach, and the nose opens into the lungs. If wind heat is not expelled while it is in the upper burner, it will penetrate into the middle burner. So we have here the figure illustrating the various patterns for both the 6 stages and 4 levels at the chi level. The bright yang channel and bright yang organ patterns of the bright yang stage are exactly the same as stomach heat and stomach and intestines dry heat of the chi level respectively. For this reason, in this episode, we shall refer to both the bright yang stage of the 4 stages and the chi level of the 4 levels as chi level. The lesser yang pattern of the 6 stages is nearly, but not quite, the same as the gallbladder heat pattern of the 4 levels. This table illustrates the differences between the 4 levels. Fever is slight at the defensive chi level with aversion to cold. At the chi level, the fever is high with aversion to heat. At the nutritive chi and blood levels, fever is high and at night. Thirst is slight at the defensive chi level, and thirst is intense at the chi level. And at the nutritive chi and blood levels, there is dry mouth but no desire to drink. Mental state at the defensive chi level is unchanged. In children, slight irritability. Mental state at the chi level is generally mind clear. If fever is high, there is delirium. At the nutritive chi and blood levels, irritability, delirium, restlessness, and coma. Sweating. Defensive chi level, none or slight. Profuse sweating at the chi level. At the nutritive chi and blood levels, no sweating or at night. The tongue at the defensive chi level, slightly red on the sides and or front. At the chi level, the tongue has red body with yellow, brown, or black coating. At the nutritive chi and blood levels, the tongue is red, no coating. The pulse is floating at the defensive chi level, rapid and full at the chi level, rapid, fine, or floating empty and rapid at the nutritive chi and blood levels. Pathology. Defensive chi level, exterior pattern. At the chi level, interior pattern, body's chi strong. Nutritive chi and blood levels, interior pattern, body's chi is weak. To put the 4 levels in a nutshell, one could say, at the defensive chi level, there is aversion to cold. Chi level, aversion to heat. Nutritive chi level, fever at night, red tongue without coating. At the blood level, bleeding and maculae. Identification of patterns according to the 4 levels. At the defensive chi level, we have wind heat, summer heat, damp heat, and dry heat. Wind heat, fever, aversion to cold, headache, sore throat, slight sweating, runny nose with yellow discharge, swollen tonsils, body aches, slight thirst. Tongue is red in the front or sides with a thin white coating. The tongue coating is white because the pathogenic factor is on the exterior. Pulse, floating rapid. Points, Li4, Li11, triple burner 5, do 14, bladder 12, with cupping, and lung 11. Summer heat. Fever, aversion to cold, no sweating, headache, a feeling of heaviness, an uncomfortable sensation in the epigastrium, irritability, thirst. Tongue, red in the front or sides with a white sticky coating. The tongue coating is white because the pathogenic factor is on the exterior. Pulse is soggy and rapid. Points, Li4, Li11, triple burner 5, do 14, BC9. Damp heat. Fever that is worse in the afternoon, body hot to touch, aversion to cold, swollen glands, headache, a feeling of heaviness, a feeling of oppression of the epigastrium, sticky taste, thirst with no desire to drink. Tongue, sticky white tongue coating, white because the pathogenic factor is on the exterior. Pulse, soggy, slow, slow because of the influence of dampness. Points, Li4, Li11, spleen 9, spleen 6, Ren 12. Dry heat. Fever, slight aversion to cold, shivers, slight sweating, dry skin, nose, mouth, and throat, dry cough, sore throat. Tongue, dry, thin white coating, white because the pathogenic factor is on the exterior. Pulse, floating, rapid. Points, Li4, Li11, triple burner 5, spleen 6, lung 9, stomach 36. Chi level. We have lung heat, heat in the chest and diaphragm, stomach heat, intestines dry heat, gallbladder heat, damp heat in the stomach and spleen. Lung heat, or heat in the chest and diaphragm. High fever, feeling of heat, no aversion to cold, thirst, cough with thin yellow sputum, shortness of breath, sweating. Tongue red with yellow coating. Pulse slippery, rapid. Points, lung 5, lung 10, do 14, Li11, lung 1, bladder 13. Stomach heat. High fever that is worse in the afternoon, no aversion to cold, feeling of heat, intense thirst, profuse sweating. Tongue red with yellow coating. Pulse overflowing, rapid. Points, stomach 44, stomach 34, stomach 21, stomach 43, Li11, stomach 25. Intestines dry heat. High fever that is higher in the afternoon, constipation, dry stools, burning in the anus, abdominal fullness and pain, irritability, delirium. Tongue red with thick yellow dry coating. Pulse deep, full, rapid. Points, Li11, stomach 25, spleen 15, stomach 37, stomach 39. Gallbladder heat. Alternating hot and cold feeling with a prevalence of heat, bitter taste, thirst, dry throat, hypochondrial pain, nausea, a feeling of fullness in the epigastrium. Tongue red with unilateral sticky yellow coating. Pulse wiry, rapid. Points, GB34, GB43, triple burner 6, triple burner 5. Damp heat in stomach and spleen. Continuous fever which decreases after sweating but soon increases again. A feeling of heaviness of the body and head, a feeling of oppression of the chest and epigastrium, nausea, loose stools. Tongue, red with sticky yellow coating. Pulse, soggy, rapid. Points, Ren 12, spleen 9, spleen 6, Ren 9, stomach 36, Li 11. Nutritive chi level, we have heat in nutritive chi level and heat in the pericardium. Heat in nutritive chi level. Fever at night, dry mouth with no desire to drink, mental restlessness, insomnia, delirium, incoherent speech or aphasia, macules. Tongue, red without coating. Pulse, fine, rapid. Points, pericardium 9, pericardium 8, heart 9, kidney 6. Heat in the pericardium. Fever at night, mental confusion, incoherent speech or aphasia, delirium, body hot, hands and feet cold, macules. Tongue, red without coating. Pulse, fine, rapid. Points, pericardium 9, pericardium 8, heart 9, kidney 6. Blood level, we have heat victorious, moving blood, heat victorious, stirring wind, empty wind agitating in the interior, collapse of yin, collapse of yang. Heat victorious, moving blood, high fever, irritability, manic behavior, dark macules, vomiting of blood, epistaxis, blood in stools, blood in urine. Tongue, dark red tongue without coating. Pulse, wiry, rapid. Points, spleen 10, Li 11, liver 2, kidney 6, heart 9. Heat victorious, stirring wind. High fever, fainting, twitching of limbs, convulsions, rigidity of neck, opisthotonus, eyeballs turning up, clenching of teeth. Tongue, dark red tongue without coating. Pulse, wiry, rapid. Points, spleen 10, Li 11, liver 2, kidney 6, heart 9, liver 3, do 16, gallbladder 20, SI 3, and bladder 62 in combination. Empty wind agitating in the interior. Low-grade fever, tremor of limbs, twitching, loss of weight, malar flush, listlessness. Tongue, dark red without coating and dry. Pulse, fine, rapid. Points, liver 3, do 16, gallbladder 20, SI 3 and bladder 62 in combination. Liver 8, kidney 6, kidney 3, spleen 6. Collapse of yin. Low-grade fever, night sweating, mental restlessness, dry mouth with desire to sip liquids, 5-palm heat, malar flush, emaciation. Tongue, dark red and dry without coating. Pulse, fine, rapid. Points, stomach 36, kidney 3, spleen 6, kidney 6, Ren 4. Collapse of yang. Feeling cold, cold limbs, bright white complexion, profuse sweating on the forehead, listlessness. Tongue, pale, swollen, and short. Pulse, hidden, slow, scattered. Points, stomach 36, Ren 6, Ren 4, Ren 8. Moxa is applicable. Thank you very much for your attention and see you in our next videos.